Hello, welcome to Model Kit Stuff. First impressions day today. We're doing a classic today. This is a kit that I built many years ago as a youngster. I can't remember exactly when, but it would have been early 80s most likely that I bought this kit. And I recently saw it again being talked about, built up on someone's channel, and I thought, you know what, I quite fancy rebuilding that and revisiting it. Welcome to Model Kit Stuff, where you'll find all of this. So this is the Matchbox Humber Mk.II. It's a 1/76 scale kit, and it comes with a little diorama base. Now, we've built a couple of these kits from this range on the channel. So if you're into your Matchbox kits, go and check those out. We've built the Shah B1 and Renault, and we've also built the little Nashorn in the desert. So this is a very typical Matchbox offering of the time, and as you can see, this one's still got the cellophane in. In fact, when I got it, the cellophane was in better condition than it is now, so nobody has looked in this since it came out of the factory. What a real shame. Okay, so what we've got here is the box in the cellophane wrapper as they used to come. And then when you look on the side, it tells us that the kit number is PK75. It's a 2-colour kit, and then they show you some other tanks which you might want to purchase from that range. The side of the box has the same box art on it, and then when we get to this side, we get some images of the actual vehicle. Tells us that you need to see the instructions for the paints, and then on the top here we've got this lovely artwork, and that's what drew you into buying these kits. I remember many times walking into the toy shop and the newsagents that used to sell these kits. I mean, there was 3 different places in my village where I could buy these kits, so they're really easy and accessible, more so than Airfix kits. And especially in the toy shop where there was other brands, you could certainly buy Airfix and Hella in there as well. I was often drawn to the Matchbox kits because of their art, and you can see it's all action. They've gone whizzing past some tanks or something which they appear to have knocked out, or they're in battle with, and there's bombs going off around it, and you know, the whole thing is full-on action. It's a little bit of a romanticised view of warfare, obviously, but that's what spoke to you as kids. So there is a little bit of information on the box here, quite often missed because it's in very small writing and hard to read. So I actually can't read it with just my reading glasses on. So let's take a look in the box. So if we open the back end of the box here, the adhesive has failed over time. You can see there was glue spots on these little circles here, which have now perished. No bag. Kit parts are directly in the box. So let's just pull that out. I'm just going to check there's nothing else in there. No, box is empty. Okay. Let's have a look at our instructions first. So what we've got is a small gatefold slip that unfolds to give you the instructions, black and white, and on the front here we've got part of the box image, the kit number again, the scale again, and it gives us a little bit of history, tells us a little bit about the Humber car, and then it also gives us some specifications, so 7.1 tons, and the height, length, speed, armament, and so on. Then when we open up and get to step 1, you can see that what we've got is a multi-part body. So rather than it being a body and a base, we've got a base, then the sides, the front and back pieces, and we're basically building up the lower part of the vehicle hull. Tells us to assemble the parts in sequence, so not only have we got part numbers being shown, it's also telling us some instructions on what to do. Now the instructions go across the top, left to right, so you have to sort of follow the sequence, which isn't difficult because there isn't many instructions to it. So step 2, we've got mudguards going on, we've got a top piece that completes the hull with another piece going on at the back. We've got the turret, the base of the turret being put in, which is turnable, so you'll be able to revolve the turret. We've got some details going on the back. Then in step 3 we're building up the drive gear. Then back here to step 4, and what looks like a very basic drive gear gets put into place there. Then we're building up the turret gun, several parts there, with the main gun plus a little machine gun next to it. Tells us not to glue that, so that must be movable as well. So very basic key, only 3 items in the key. Then in step 6, that's weird. Okay, step 6. So right, I see what we're doing now. That is the turret lid, and it's telling you to snap the part in half. Break it in half so you can put it in as 2 pieces. Obviously, if you want to have it closed, then don't do that. So they've obviously moulded it closed, so you need to cut it in half if you want it in 2. I'm not sure I'd snap it. I think I'd perhaps go in with a razor saw, but anyway. Different days when these were made. 1 or 2 detail parts going on the outside. Then in step 8 we're building the diorama. So we have a base, 2 wall sections and a spare tyre to float in the crater. And then step 9, we are completing the build, adding the wheels, adding stowage boxes and the like. We've got wing mirrors going on, all sorts of little details, and a spare wheel on the front. So it should look fairly busy when it's done. I seem to remember it did. And we're also adding the turret, and it's telling us part 20 and 21 is saying do not cement. So I'm trying to. Oh, okay. That's the spare wheel. Strange. Okay, and that gets us to the completion of the build part of the instructions. Then down this side here, right at the end, we have the list of other kits. So the purple range aircraft, purple range military vehicles, orange range aircraft. And that says copyright 1974 at the bottom. Right, let's turn over. So here we've got our paint instructions. So you get a letter for the paint instruction, and it says black. Then we've got and it gives you the Humber number, I think. HM, I think that must be Humber. HM11 black, HM1 8th Army Desert Yellow. Then it says 47 stroke G10 sea blue, 61 stroke M7 Flesh, and then HM8 Khaki Drill. Now obviously some of those Humber numbers have changed, but yeah, I think these are Humber paints they're calling out, which at the time were the most common paints used. So then we've got some images. So the tyre, paint it in black. They're actually asking you to paint flesh for the puddle, which is interesting. A pink colour, but they don't actually refer to the rest of the base, what colour you want to do that, and they certainly don't tell you to get any mud colours out or anything like that, or desert colours. So interesting. Then the cap is black. Arms are flesh. Oh, sorry, I said flesh for the puddle. It's sea blue for the puddle. Beg your pardon. And then khaki drill for his uniform. Sea blue for the lamps, and black for the straps. So they're giving you some of the colours, but they're not giving you all. I mean, what colour is the tarpaulin that's rolled up, for example? Then we've got the paint instructions for the 12th Royal Lancers, which is pretty much desert yellow, the whole thing. Then we have our decal instructions, and we've got two options here. The 12th Royal Lancers, which we've just talked about, which gives us the main markings. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, I suspect 6 decals in total, or the 5th Royal Regiment, which is the one shown on the side of the box, and again same number of decals, just different markings. So the 5th Royal Regiment, Desert Rats, obviously. So yeah, okay. Decals now, and they are true to form for early 70s. We've got a fair amount of margin on them, but actually they're not thick. They're thinner than modern Tamiya decals, that's for sure. And they're quite nicely done. The register's okay. They're quite clear, so I have no real issues with them. Put them on and give them a clear coat, they should be fine. The real question is whether I can get them off the backing paper or not after 50 plus years, but we will see. Plastic parts now, and this is sprue B. We have the base here, and it's really nicely done in terms of texturing. There's no marks for the wheel tread. But what you've got is you've got this great big crater here, which is sort of the end of the road for the Humber. The Humber sits in this little patch, and then you build up the building there. So the idea is that you look at it that way at the model. Yeah, and as I remember, it looked pretty cool when it was done. So yeah, this is nicely textured, and it's all down to your painting skill. You can add, what I did is I went into the garden and added some texture onto here out of the vegetable plot. So got some soil, put a bit of white glue on it, sprinkled some soil on it, and then brush painted it all over, and it just gave it a little bit more texture. So there's always things you can do, and as kids it was fun messing around like that. We've got our driver there, and he's got his binoculars on. And actually, he doesn't look too bad at all. The pockets, the belt, all clearly visible. Yeah, and I wouldn't say he looks that out of scale. Scale was always a bit of an issue in these early kits. Then we've got some of the stowage. We've got fuel cans, which look a little basic. Tyres, got reasonable tread on them. Obviously nothing on the sidewalls, but gives you the basic feel. We've got the part tyre there for going into our puddle, which is nice. And then this is our base bit, which gives you an idea of the overall size. Not a big vehicle in real life anyway. So yeah, I mean, pretty basic and chunky. The detail on there, the leaf spring has got no detail really. Then we've got our drive shafts, a bit more stowage, other parts of the drive shafts, and then some of the smaller details like the wing mirrors. And you know, obviously they're a bit chunky. You could cut the mirror off and replace it with a little section of wire if you wanted, but sort of, you lose the fun feel of the kit if you do that, to be honest. But depends on what you want to do. You can certainly use it as a base kit to do something a little bit more fun. So yeah, there is no issues in terms of sync or flash. This is an original release kit from 1973, so you'd expect there to be less issues than if you bought one of the Revell 2007 or 2021 re-releases. Even the gun is nicely captured, a bit of seam cleanup, but other than that, nothing else. Now, the copyright in the instructions is 1973. Copyright on the back of the plastic is 1974. Scalemates will tell you 1973, but quite possibly the kit wasn't released until 74. Don't know. Right, let's have a look at the other one. And this is such a strange colour because it's sort of translucent. Yeah, I don't know what the thinking was around the two colours, whether that made it feel a bit more posh in some way, but yeah, they certainly like to mess around with colours. And I suppose it's a bit desert yellow. Yeah, so we've got on here, we've got the main vehicle part. So we've got the side there, which has a bit of chain on it. Don't know if you can see that there, just there. Bit of chain printed on it, so on a wash that'll pop out really quite nicely, and a hook. We've got the Pioneer equipment on the side, and that does it does two things. It simplifies the kit because they're not separate items, but because they're not separate items and they're sort of moulded in relief on the side there, they're actually more to scale. So there are separate items that have to have made them more chunky, and they would have looked a bit out of scale. So interesting. We've got the door there closed, but you can see where some form of handle or lock is, and the hinges. So you get the basics. I think that must be our hatch that they want you to snap in half. Never in a million years are you snapping that. The sprue sort of meets at this section of wall, and that wall section is fairly basic compared to others we see later on from them, but it is an African wall, so the construction method is different than European, where you've got several layers of plaster. So yeah, this is the other section of wall, and again they've put that in the sprue, and over the years that's drifted apart, so it's only got one connection point. But that's because the sprue gates aren't too thick. You know, you get sprue gates from Airfix which are thicker than this already. So yeah, they did a really nice job back in the day. Then we've got this grill section. Yeah, it's chunky, but it shows you what it is. Mud guards, nicely done. Again, chunky, but once you've sanded the numbers off, and those ejector pins will look fine. Wheel hubs have got nice raised fastener detail on the inside. And then we've got, oh, this is the top hatch for the coupler. Yeah, you can see how that might be, flex it and it'll come off, but still think it won't do it properly. Some nice details on the top of the turret. You've got the little hinges put in and various other bits and pieces. It's actually quite a bit of finesse to the moulding for the day, and given the scale, yeah, not bad at all. Really not bad at all. So that's it. That is the contents of the kit. Let's sum up. Well, there you have it, the 1973 original release of the Humber Mk.II in 1:76 scale from Matchbox. Now, I built this kit back in the day. It was re-released in 1983, and I suspect I would have built it around about then. In those days, I didn't really have a stash. It didn't really take me long to build these models, maybe a couple of weeks, pacing myself. So I would typically go to the newsagents, buy a copy of Commando magazine, and then, just out of interest, you can still get today online. I'd get Commando magazine, and then I would nip next door to the toy shop and get myself a model. And a lot of fun I had with it too. So probably built this in the early 80s. Like I say, I didn't really have a stash. I built them as I finished a model, then I'd go and buy another one, then I'd build it. Most of these 70s kits got re-released in the 80s, and that's when I built them, and I was chugging through them at a fair old rate. It has been re-released since then. So it was released a couple of times in the 90s, once with paint and brushes as like a set, and then Revell have re-released it twice. So there is some of these knocking around. This being an original release is more collectible. I don't buy kits for collecting, to be honest, but this is in fairly good condition. I do intend to revisit it at some point, but not in the near future, certainly. So, this isn't really my first impression because I built it and I remember it on my model shelf, but let's just go through it. So, boxing. Boxing was great because actually the cardboard's relatively thick. It's a small box, so it's fairly sturdy. You can see this one's got some crush damage. That's being mistreated by a previous owner, but yeah, the boxing was great because the artwork was amazing on the front, and that, as I've said, is what drew you in. And then you've got information on the sides about what the vehicle looks like. So for me as a kid, some of these vehicles I'd never seen before. You've got a picture on the back, which I don't think I'd shown you, which tells you your paint. The paint options and gives you an image of that finished vehicle. So yeah, absolutely drew you in, and there was enough packaging in there to keep everything safe. So even though there's no bags or anything, you didn't need them. You really didn't need them because nothing's moving around in there. It's thoughtfully packed. So that's all good. Instructions, clear, easy to follow. I grew up on those instructions. They were bread and butter instructions, and yeah, you've got some written instructions. It's quite clear what you want to do in every step. The build steps are simplified, you know, so you work your way through it. If you need to do it in a particular order, it tells you. You've got paint and decal instructions as you go. But in this instance, as a general rule, in this instance, all the decals are put on later because they're surface ones. But sometimes you get interior decals on some of these kits, aircraft kits and what have you, and it tells you at that point what to do. So instructions are fine. I have no issues with the instructions. By modern standards, a bit more difficult to follow, but if you grew up on them, they're not a problem at all. Then the plastic itself, well, you know, given the age of the kit, no issues there either. I mean, there's actually no issues with the plastic in terms of faults like sink or shrinkage or short shops or anything like that. There's no flash, so the cleanup is just seam. So, you know, it's as good as you got in the day. Yeah, the detail is soft molded, and yeah, it's chunky, and yeah, there's issues of scale in there, but on the main, it's not bad. For a kit of its period, I think some of the detail is actually quite nice, and when you paint it up, it will look fairly cool. And what this really begs for is some chipping and worn paint work and some really nice detail work on the Humber to make it really stand out on that base. So simple colours on your base and your wall there, and then absolutely go to town and make it stand out and look like the real thing. And actually this was a real fun model to look at when it was finished. So yeah, all in all, not bad. Decals, very good for the day, no issues other than the margin. Sometimes it could get in the way of other items because of the size of the decals. So as a kid, I used to battle with them and not put them down very well, and you might see the decals standing up and stuff. These days I just trim them before I used them, so we will see. So there you have it. Yeah, it's a lovely kit, and if you've never built any of the Matchbox 1/76 scale kits, they are actually quite a bit of fun. They're a nice palette cleanser between the much more complicated models that we like to build today. So a lovely kit from a lovely time in modelling history, and brings back many happy memories for me. And when I build one of these Matchbox kits, you know what, it's such a relaxing experience compared to some modelling that we do today. Yeah, it's a lovely thing, joy in a box. There you have it. Many of you, I'm sure, will remember it. The Matchbox Humber Mk.II. Lovely kit. If you've never built one, go and find one on eBay and give it a bash. Thanks for looking in. You enjoy your modelling, and I'll see you very soon. Bye for now. Thanks for watching. Please hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't done so. It's free, and that way you won't miss my first impressions, my tool reviews, my product reviews, and any of my builds, including wooden model kits as well as plastic. It's all free, and if you'd like to support the channel, you can hit my PayPal link in the text below. Every pound goes straight into the channel to keep the cameras rolling and to do more fun stuff for you to watch.